Now begin. The first thing is that unfortunately Voisine is not able to make it today, so he will not be part of the. And the first thing I want to say as the moderator, I'm John. This is Joan Waltemath. This is Linda Francis, and this is Michael Zahn. I want to say thanks to Janet because she made this possible. And I'm really very impressed that on a day like inside, it's very nice of you to come and to take painting seriously. And I guess that's the tone of the discussion I hope we can become involved with, which is just how important is contemporary abstract painting today. Can you hear me in the back? Yes, okay, okay. My own concerns as a writer is I've been following painting, and I've been following the other media as well. And my concern as a writer is that I've seen the shift in visuality in contemporary art move ever further away from sort of things that are well made to deliberately poorly crafted kinds of material, kinds of art imageries. And this show is anything but that. This is a very well-crafted show. It is a show in which geometric abstraction is still alive. And one of the things that I'm going to hope we can draw out in my conversation with the other artists here is just how do they feel about the situation where contemporary art is being taken over increasingly by non-visual imageries, by political content, and by high technology. There's nothing inherently wrong with these methodologies, but and I think that like the kinds of painting we see today, they are on some level in dialogue with modernism, even if only to reject it. But one of the other questions I'd like to ask the painters today is whether or not there is still a language in modernism that can be used in a contemporary sense. I teach both that there are many people here from Pratt. It's nice to see you all. I also teach at Parsons, and I get the sense that that people aren't as interested in painting as they used to be. And what I'd like to try to do during the course of the hour is just sort of give a sketch, an illustration of what painting is like now. It's a very tough position, I think, for the critic, because as a critic, you have your own tastes, and one of my favorite mediums is in fact painting, and I love writing about it. I just did a review of Shazia Sikandar, who is the Pakistani artist, and I'm happy to support this kind of work. At the same time, when I do support this kind of work, I wonder whether I'm showing myself to be an anachronism, and I know, and then again, I also know that many people are deeply committed to putting pigment on canvas or paper, and it's very important, I think, that we keep some sense of our responsibility to that tradition alive. The problem has been, it's been a couple things. I think it's partially because contemporary painting does feel like it's been pushed to the side. There's a good essay, you may know it, I've had some of my students read it, called Why Abstract Painting Still Matters by Laurie Fendrich. And she's a professor of painting out in Hofstra, and she's an abstract painter. And when she isn't being incredibly defensive, she's saying things like, we have to slow down, painting offers us a certain degree of slowing down, we have to stop, we have to allow for the inherent difficulty of abstract painting. And she suggests by that there may be a hierarchy in culture between which may go as far as saying there's a kind of elitism to understanding this kind of work. And these are all questions that really interest me as a functioning writer writing about what's going on in New York. But I was just at the show at the Museum of Younger Than Jesus. How many of you have seen that? A lot of you seen it? Yeah. And I was struck by how there were a few painters, but they were mostly people that were experimenting with genres of art that were very different from the way people are working here. And I'm just wondering whether or not it's a generational thing. I belong now to a maturing generation, we can say, and I'm wondering how younger artists are taking painting as well. These are big questions, and I think they're questions that are particularly relevant to the Williamsburg and Greenpoint art communities, which is sort of reminds me when I was my student's age of what was going on a little bit in the Lower East Side before everything would go to Chelsea. There's a kind of pioneering spirit and a scrappiness, and also I think an interest in painting that is really very, very important. There's also, Williamsburg even has its own journal in the form of the Brooklyn Rail. I'm sure most of you know it. And that's another thing that maybe we can talk about, and I can draw comments from you about, is just how viable is contemporary art, like this kind of contemporary art, in the Williamsburg context. But my own sense of it is that painting will survive like it always does, just as the pursuit of poetry survives. And these are not easy, the kind of painting that's being addressed here is not necessarily easy to understand, just as certain kinds of poetry are not necessarily easy to understand. And what we need to do, I think, is to do more talks like this, so that, and I have a feeling that there are a lot of artists in this group, but I would also be thrilled if there were people who are not artists that would come and we could talk about some of these issues facing us. So my first question to my panel would be is it's sort of how do you feel about making paintings in the year 2009? Is there the sense that you're on the tail end of things? Is there a sense that you're pursuing the craft for what it can do? And what is your reaction to some of the art that you're seeing today? I'm wondering, Michael, would you be good enough to comment on that? You don't have to.
No. I mean, when I was younger, I used to be really preoccupied with all the endgame strategies that were part of the tail end of modernity, or modernism, or whatever you want to call it. And then I started thinking about things differently, and what I did was I mentally, I guess, made a transition from the industrial sort of contemporary phenomena that motivated modernist painting. When I started thinking about new methodologies, that allowed me to start to think about abstraction in a different way. And I found varying degrees of abstraction in the built environment as I encountered it on a day-to-day basis, and so that allowed me to pursue the paintings that I felt like I wanted to make. I mean, I felt like I had a relationship to what preceded it,
right? But
I didn't necessarily feel that I felt like it was open. I didn't necessarily feel like it was shut down. Right.
I think that's a very good comment, and I think it's a very accurate comment as well. Is that while people would like this write-off painting and saying that it's ended, you probably all know of Arthur Danto's essay concerning the ending at the end of the meaning of reading in art. But in fact, it's really an open question. It's not a shut and closed question. And it's very important, I think, that we recognize that and that we assume that painting is not to be pushed to the side, can still be capable of carrying over real genuine meaning. Linda, you're very much in hard edge or geometric abstraction. How does it feel to be working like this now?
Like a dinosaur, no. I actually